In today's rundown, we are talking about Roblox finally going public.
Then we're talking about scary security breaches and Disney Plus hitting 100 million subscribers. Stay tuned.
It is Wednesday, March 10th. This is the Piper Rundown. We analyze business and culture to help you win. Today's rundown is presented by Piper Creative. That's us. Shooting, editing, and publishing quality content is overwhelming. We make it easy so you can save time, build your brand, and grow faster. Say hello at pipercreative.co.
And thank you for helping us get to 2,000 subscribers on this channel. We are aiming to get to 5,000 before the end of the year, so your comments, your likes, and your engagement is much appreciated. We've already covered Roblox.
We have.
Earlier this year.
Yep. We're
coming back to the well to talk about it more because today Roblox executes their direct listing into public markets. We've talked in the past about the three ways that firms will traditionally go public: an initial public offering, a direct listing, and a SPAC. SPAC. Some people still struggle with the differentiation, so we're going to start there. Why would a company go public? There are three primary reasons. You don't need all of them in order to go public, but you're usually aspiring to at least one: capital, liquidity, or legitimacy. Capital. You go to public markets, you say, we need to raise more money. We've either expended the money that we can reach from private markets, or we think the valuation and terms would be more preferable, so we're going to raise money in a public domain. That's when you pursue capital. Liquidity. Hey, we've been a private company for a long amount of time. We issue equity grants to our employees, and so therefore, in order for those employees, early investors, perhaps the founders, to get liquidity, the capacity to move your net worth from this private stock, concentrated, undiversified in a single entity, liquid, sell it, put it into real estate, put it into a new car, a new hairpiece, whatever it is that may fill your heart with joy. And finally, legitimacy. This is hard for everyone to necessarily appreciate and comprehend, but there is a degree to which large Fortune 100, 50, 500 companies see legitimacy in a firm that is traded on public markets, does have a publicly verifiable market capitalization as a signal that that company has a lower likelihood of going out of business, of being privy to some sort of disaster. Not to say that public companies can't blow up, but there is a degree of transparency into bookkeeping, into other sorts of announcements, executive turnover that is not required in privately held companies. And so that gives those companies a little bit of security in that they are partnering with the right one. So Roblox squarely falls in that second category. They actually, and we talked about this a couple months ago, Roblox, they've raised a $520 million Series H, which was led by Altimeter Capital, values the company at $29.5 billion. That is a pretty substantial increase from the valuation that they earned in a Series G led by Andreessen Horowitz just 11 months ago. So they don't need the capital. From a legitimacy standpoint, most of their customers, most of their users are under the age of 15. They probably don't even understand what it might mean for a company to be publicly traded. While they have partners, those partners are mostly in the tech space and therefore just want the fees that they could collect from being a vendor to Roblox. Roblox is not doing a ton of plugging into other platforms. They are the self-enclosed ecosystem. So what they're essentially looking for here with this direct listing is the liquidity for their early investors, for their employees, to have this privately held stock for a company that was founded 15 years ago. This is not a new, fresh company. They've been around the block for a while, particularly in the gaming space. That is a considerable amount of time. If you don't remember from the past analysis, Roblox is a free-to-play 3D gaming platform. And that platform term is going to be very important because we're going to come back to it. Over half of all US children between the gaming age, I don't remember the exact age, maybe it was like between 8 and 16 or something like that, have a Roblox account. That is a similar scale to when people talk about the number of Amazon Prime households, and that number surpassing the amount of US households that go to church, the amount of US households that own a gun, the amount of US households that have tentpole, essential, staple experiences broadly held throughout culture. This is a similar level of import to US children.
A staggering number.
You would struggle to find a child between the ages of 10 and 13 in America that is not at least familiar with the concept of Roblox. That would be a real challenge for you to follow up on.
Yeah, it's unlike any other app. There was a stat thrown out that 22% of US adults are on Twitter, and Twitter is one of the most dominant social media platforms, so that gives you a little bit of insight on as to how big this actually is.
Right. 160 million users in the first 9 months of 2020 did about $1.2 billion worth of revenue. They make their money by collecting fees from both creators and developers. Developers are folks within the platform that create games, experiences, micro worlds within the larger platform. And to come back to the platform idea, Bill Gates, when he was talking about Microsoft as a platform, basically said that the definition of platform is that you only collect about 10% of the value that you create. So Roblox is trying to push that narrative about how much they're taking. They're taking more currently than 10% of everything that's going across their platform. I think that there's work to be done. That's both the upside and the downside. When you think about Roblox's future is the capacity of fees that they collect, 30% from their developers, the same as Apple. The other part of the Roblox S1, which is their public disclosure and how they want the market to understand them, how they want to talk about themselves, there's, game theory, corporate development, PR, all kind of rolled into one. They reference the metaverse. This is a term first popularized by a book called Snow Crash, which is a popular piece of science fiction, which is this idea of a persistent virtual world that is highly interoperable, meaning all sorts of parties, large, small, competing, can interact with one another because of base level protocols that enable everyone to be working in the same space. But once again, this is a persistent virtual world. So one of the things that makes this world that we're living in physically capable of all us building on is everywhere you go on Earth, the rules of gravity apply.
Right.
So if someone's going to build a building, they're playing by the same, roughly, rules as everyone else. If you want to cross that river, you can either build a bridge, you can swim, you can use a boat, but the same laws of fluid dynamics apply to anyone trying to traverse the river to our left that they might want to go through. And you can go on and on and on and on, but these virtual worlds, those protocols are less physics and more the technological specifications that everyone's interacting with. Roblox refers to the metaverse because that is a very big picture, long-term vision, sexy ideal to reach. There is an enormous, arguably limitless potential to creating that, because if you really think about the long-term implications of a metaverse, you're talking about the economy writ large.
Yes.
The entire economy writ large would be recreated, and that looks like the selling of Fortnite skins or these outfits that people wear. Trading for goods, trading for services. All these things are happening almost in silos on the internet, and Roblox is the biggest step forward in that anyone can fill any role. So the other history of video games here used to be a physical console that you walked up to, you played Miss Pac-Man or something. Then you were able to bring that console into the home, but it was still one directional. There was the broadcaster, creator of the game, the publisher, and you having that acted upon. Then games became social. You started seeing Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, where you could meet up with your friends, but you were still just the player. Yeah. The step forward here is anyone can come onto this Roblox platform, use their underlying primitives, and create their own game. You can come from player to creator of a game, developer of a game, with no limits, with no boundaries. The issue is that, like we talked about before, Roblox is its own playground. This is not a metaverse. This is something more constrained, than that. And if someone is pitching you on the absolutely uncapped, limitless potential of what Roblox can be, the one screw that I don't necessarily know how gets turned is, at what point would Roblox move from being a walled garden to some completely open protocol? I don't necessarily know if they're incentivized to do that. And that doesn't mean it can't be a big business. Facebook is a walled garden too. And they've been pretty darn effective at making money. They have, a staggering market cap in comparison to the other companies that you might try to compare Roblox to.
Yeah, I think it'll just come with time. That answer will become much more apparent with time, because in the same way that we saw the influencer marketing just explosion in the last couple of years, and influencers being valid celebrities in our culture, the same thing will happen within Roblox, where you can create a character, have this unique avatar or skin or something, and that little character will be as relevant in that world as like Beyonce is in our world, with just as much social impact. And it could be run by like a 9-year-old in Indiana. It's just, that is the reality of it, and it will have just as much economic impact as well. Like, that's the direction where this is going.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked before about concerts thrown within Roblox and performances and stuff, but now people are actually creating these worlds that are interactive, that their friends can hop onto, and the screen time speaks for itself. Like, kids are spending, on average, 2.5 hours a day in Roblox or in their little worlds or on the platform.
That dwarfs the numbers. Like TikTok and Instagram were competing at like 50 minutes a day.
Exactly. And so this trend is just going to continue, and similar to TikTok, I don't think it's going to be dominated by just children for long. I think adults are going to hop on.
So those are the 2 points here. If you're paying attention to Roblox, there's going to be a ton of hype about this. Metaverse is very hypey. Tech is very hypey. Those numbers that we even talked about earlier in this video, very hypey. Here are the 2 kind of things that are actually real issues. Number 1, the mobile app is not particularly robust. If you think about the capacity to have that persistent world, meaning you log onto your iPad, you log onto your desktop, your laptop, you log onto your mobile device, and it's a similar experience. You have the same profile, you have the same things, but there's limits to what you can do in that mobile app environment, which kind of actually seems crazy when you think about most other social networks. You would argue that the mobile app is better than the desktop environment, or at least completely fungible. Roblox still has a road to hoe there because of the massive amount of complexity associated with their world. That's one thing that needs to get done. The other thing is, there aren't a lot of adults on the platform, and they do have a very heavy hand as it pertains to moderation, because there is this risk when you have so many little kids of bad acting adults interacting with those kids in an environment like this. There are a number of risk factors there. And so, one of the analysts that we were reading said that she was on it and she tried to message her friend LMAO.
Yeah.
And the message was flagged.
Yeah.
So stuff like that does, to some degree, limit the amount of fun that adults might be able to have on a platform like this.
Certainly.
So the other dynamic here is this something that they age out of? Is there something where it's like, okay, that was Nickelodeon, but here's
Nick at Night.
MTV, no, not Nick at Night, MTV, or one of these other, because I really think it's very similar to that. It's very similar to that type of network where it's like, I played Roblox as a kid, but now I play World of Warcraft or Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever the new platform is as an adult, because it gives me a little more freedom. It is more unconstrained, and that's what I'm looking for as an adult experience. Yeah,
and with the Roblox studio side of this, like with all of these developers, and there are like 7 million developers across the world that are currently on the Roblox platform, I think that's just going to make everything so much more flexible and make that change happen more quickly, as opposed to like the adoption of TikTok amongst adults happened relatively quickly. I think that was in large part due to the pandemic, but It's like any children's game being adopted by adults. It just doesn't really happen.
And one of the limits to the mobile app being developed is the fact that it's not, that the mobile environments are walled gardens. Google, so Roblox has taken their fee, and then out of that fee comes Apple's fee or Google's fee, which is also onerous. So part of the reason they haven't prioritized that and made it mostly a desktop experience is because that's where they can maximize their revenue, their income, their monetization. So you think about the flip side of that, what makes Google and Apple's platform so robust is the fact that app developers make a ton of money still despite those fees. There are 1,250 developers making more than $10,000 on the platform, which sounds actually kind of small when you kind of step back and we talk about the scale of this. So their capacity to put more money into the pockets of developers and the marginal talent going there as opposed to another platform is really the ultimate upside enabler for the Roblox platform. Any last thoughts?
Not really.
If you enjoyed that, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and keep watching the rundown because we do really cool videos on the reg.
On the reg.
Yikes. I just cringed at myself. Hit the bell if you're cringing too. Our second story is a hack. Verkada has been hacked by a collective of hackers. Tilly Cotman has taken credit for the hack that involves 150,000 security cam live feeds being accessed by hackers. One of their primary points was to show how easy it was for these hacks to occur. Those cameras were located in a number of delicate locations, including hospitals, an Alabama jail, Cloudflare, one of the most important providers, basically keeping some of the largest websites on the planet up and running successfully, different production facilities in Tesla, amongst other places. This is the second big hack in the last year. SolarWinds exposed 18,000 organizations and much of the US government to a significant data breach. This is one of those meta patterns that I think, or mega trends that a lot of people don't want to spend a lot of time considering and thinking about. Or there's like almost like a nihilistic view. It's like, well, my info is already out there. Someone will take it in some way, shape, or form. It is terrifying, and there's a security. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he talks about how these platforms have always been capable of being broken into. That's actually not that. That's not like new. Mm-hmm. It's our vulnerability in the sense that there is now digital elements everywhere. Right. Every room has multiple chips. Every room has multiple Wi-Fi access points. One of my favorite Twitter accounts is the Internet of Shit as opposed to the Internet of Things. And it's just all these devices not really working the way they were intended to and having massive security holes. So basically what you've done is smartify some device. It doesn't really bring you that much joy, but now there's a new attack vector.
There you go. So, yeah, scary stuff.
Scary stuff. Our last story is Bob Chapek, the CEO of Disney, announcing on their latest earnings call that Disney Plus has hit 100 million subscribers. I feel like we talk about this every time they drop a new number, but they were hoping to get to 60 to 90 million by like 2024. They've blown that out of the water. They're now 50% of the way to Netflix's global subscriber base, just 16 months after launching. And it has prompted Reed Hastings, the co-CEO of Netflix, to acknowledge that Disney Plus is their primary competitor and someone they are worried about. So between WandaVision, I'm blanking on, what's the movie that just dropped, Raya? Is that a Raya?
Is that what it was called?
I think it was Raya.
Yeah.
Disney's killing it, unsurprisingly.
Yes, they are killing it, as per usual. After show, what's going on?
After show wise,
you're getting a presentation this week.
I've given 2 presentations this week. We're recruiting summer interns, and we are giving a paid speaking engagement to the Media Association of Pittsburgh, and conducting some really big interviews. So lots to do. Thanks for watching.